Cheers and tears, joy and disappointment, disaster and elation. The Africa Cup of Nations saw emotion in its purest form today as both semi-finals took place, and for two teams, they will be walking out onto the pitch in Rabat on Saturday on final day, while for two, the dream of being African champions sadly lays to rest for another year. It's been an enthralling day here at the Cup of Nations, and where do I start in breaking it down? Well, I kind of have to at this point. Hi, I'm the Football Otaku, and welcome to today's episode of Total AFCON Daily, your daily wrap of all things Africa Cup of Nations here in Morocco in 2025. If, of course, you're loving the content, don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe, and all that other amazing stuff. We finally just got off the emotional roller coaster that was the semi-finals of the Africa Cup of Nations, and let's talk about it, starting with... This match was always going to be tight. It was always going to be difficult. I mean, if you'd seen the previous history between Senegal and Egypt, you'd have known that this was a match where it really was going to come down to who would be able to crack the other team's defense first. I mean, who'd blink first. And it was a match where it started out pretty well. I mean, Egypt, of course, sat back a little bit. Senegal would have taken the initiative. But the first sort of big moment of the match took place in around about the 16th minutes, where Egypt would exploit their pace. Omar Mamouche would exploit this pace and would draw a foul out of Kalidou Koulibaly, and he would pick up a yellow card. And this would be a crucial yellow card, as this would be the yellow card that would potentially rule him out of the Africa Cup of Nations final. I mean, it's a heart-wrenching situation to be in. I mean, the captain, your leader, your hard man at the back. I mean, Kalidou Koulibaly, K2, is practically, captain, leader of men. And for him to not play the final or potential final is a heart-wrenching moment for him. But it also then makes me wonder, makes me question CAF. I mean, if you look at every other competition, such as UEFA Champions League, I mean, the Euros, European Championship, the World Cup, most tournaments, the whole yellow card, or previous disciplinary records are expunged. They're wiped out, which means that they don't matter. They don't carry into the semi-finals, which means everyone has a clean disciplinary record heading into the semi-finals. This is to make sure that things like this don't happen. So how is it in the Africa Cup of Nations this is still a thing, where you can carry on your yellow cards or previous transgressions and then potentially pick up a yellow card in the semi-final, which makes you miss the big one, the final? I mean, I don't know why this is still a thing, considering other tournaments don't do this anymore. So anyway, it's still a pretty big miss for Senegal very early on, and eventually his tournament was going to end there and there in the semi-final in Tangier, but now his tournament ended indefinitely when he picked up a groin injury, and trust me, groin injuries do not heal in 3-4 days. They don't. So he already was a bad miss for Senegal, and sadly they would have to sub him out. Habib Diallo as well would pick up a yellow card. He would miss out. He'll sadly miss the final as well. So there's already two changes that Pape Thiaw has to make for final day, which already is a bit of a problem. But Senegal would then take charge of the game. Right about into the half an hour, Senegal will start taking charge of the game. Nicholas Jackson had an opportunity that would fly over the bar. But then, as much as Senegal had a lot of the ball and had a lot of insertions, we were unable to create a lot of chances that really troubled El Shenawi in the Egyptian goal. They really struggled to sort of challenge him. They really struggled to sort of make him work. And the game ends, the half time is at 1-0. And Senegal, if you look at the numbers, Senegal were by far the better side. They had 30%, they had 70% of the ball and had 3 chances, while Egypt had none. Egypt hadn't even made a real proper foray into the Senegal half or into the Senegal box. Heading into the second half, and it would be a lot more of the same. Senegal would be attacking. Senegal would have a lot more of the ball, create opportunities. Egypt didn't really create much, but were doing a very good job of keeping this Senegalese defense. The Senegalese attack stagnant. I mean, if you look at Senegal, they've been one of the best ball-playing sides at the Cup of Nations, and for Egypt to really restrict them the way they were was a pretty admirable job. But at times you could see that they were defending deeper and deeper and deeper. I mean, at one point, I think around about the 60th, 70th minute, they had 10 men behind the ball defending the penalty area. They were starting to get caved in. And eventually, I mean, we all knew this was going to be a game that was going to be decided by fine margins. It was going to be a game decided by the big players turning up. And eventually, a big player did have a big moment, a moment that would define this game. And that moment wouldn't fall to who we'd be thinking this moment would fall for. The moment would fall for Sadio Mane. A ball worked into the area. Again, it'd be cleared away by the Egyptian defense. Again, Senegal would struggle to sort of break that Egyptian wall, but Sadio Mane with a shot from distance, which El Shenawi just couldn't stop. I mean, it came from really out of nowhere, took him by surprise, and flew into the back of the net for 1-0 Senegal with about 15 minutes to play. And it's a crucial goal, and you can't say Senegal, by the balance of play, haven't deserved this goal. You can't say that. Senegal have been the better team practically all game in terms of enterprise, in terms of gameplay, in terms of resources, use of those resources, and who else but their main man, their talisman, to give them the lead in this crucial game, in this game that mattered so much. Egypt, though, needing to chase the game, would come out. I mean, they had no choice at this point, and they did start creating chances of their own. Mamouche would finally have their first shot on target, but this would be deep in the game. I'm talking 89th minute deep, which would finally challenge Mendy. I mean, Egypt did have opportunities as well, but I mean, they were never always going to be enough. And the full-time whistle would go off, and Senegal would be through to their 4th Africa Cup of Nations final, their 3rd in 4 tournaments. And it's a fantastic performance from Pape Thiaw's men, not just tonight, where they came through an incredibly difficult tie and won a semi-final with very, very difficult circumstances, but throughout the entire tournament, where they've been one of the best ball-playing teams in the competition, where they've been very domineering, but lately have been starting to win games by slender margins and have been able to handle those big game moments and big game pressures. And although their moments have been luck, they've been able to sort of manufacture their own luck, which is what you need in tournament football. You always need luck, but Senegal have worked hard enough to manufacture their own luck and manufacture those moments. So I mean, it's a huge respect to them, and a huge respect to some of the elders in that Senegal team who will be playing their 3rd Cup of Nations final. So they'll be vastly experienced in games of this pressure, this pressure. There'll be vast of games of this caliber. Sadio Mane will be playing his 3rd final. I think Pape Idrissa Gueye, will be playing his 3rd final. He was there when they lost in 2019. He was there when they won in 2021. They'll know what it's like to win and lose a Cup of Nations final, so that experience will be invaluable. And then you'll have a young Senegalese team who may not have played games like these before in terms of this caliber, but they've won under 21 youth championships, and they've won youth tournaments, and it's really been a fantastic achievement for the Senegal side, and they'll definitely be a challenge for whoever they face on final day. For Egypt, sadly, the dream ends here again. The hope and dream of securing the 8th, sadly, will have to rest for another year. It will be 17 years when they try again in Pamoja in 2027. But for Mo Salah, this defeat probably hurts the most. I mean, Mo Salah has had a mixed Cup of Nations history. He's had some really good tournaments, such as his debut in 2017, and he's had some pretty bad tournaments, such as on home soil in 2019, but this was probably his best performance at a Cup of Nations for Mohamed Salah. Best performance. He'd scored in the critical games. He had 4 goals, scored in very critical games and critical moments for Egypt, and really was able to carry this team this far into the competition. Of course, he had a good supporting cast, but Mo Salah turned on and turned up when his country needed him, which is what you need from a big emblematic player. But his time is running out, and he has to win the Cup of Nations, because now he really needs to win to silence his critics, whether it's his critics back home, whether it's the critics in the media back home in England or in Egypt. He has to bring home the Cup of Nations. He has to, if he truly is one of the greatest Egyptian players of all time, he has to do something for his country. He has to win the Cup of Nations. And the sad part is, it's running out. Time's running out. He's going to be 34 come tournament time in 2027, and he's not going to be in his prime years. And now the task of winning the Cup of Nations is only going to get harder, not just for him personally in terms of his age, but a lot of the external factors. Playing a Cup of Nations outside of the region where North African teams don't tend to do well. I mean, it's very rare for a North African to win the Cup of Nations outside of North Africa. So there's the conditions of future Cup of Nations playing outside of North Africa. Even the stability in the Egyptian national side. This is an old Egypt team. I mean, a lot of the guys are past 30, and that's a team that really badly needs refreshing. And also the change of coach. Who knows if Hossam Hassan will even be around at the end of 2026? I mean, remember, it's a World Cup year, so who even knows if Hossam Hassan will be around in 2020 after the World Cup in 2026? A new coach in charge, new ideas, new philosophies, and maybe he might not, as nuts as it sounds, think Salah is part of the plan. So with the amount of uncertainty that he and the Egyptian national team face, this arguably was his last really good chance to win the Cup of Nations. And despite really turning up in this tournament, probably having one of his better tournaments, and really having that hunger to win the Cup of Nations, sadly is not his time. And now time is running out, because we don't know if he'll have another opportunity. We don't know if he'll have another chance, if he'll ever have it this good. And that's going to be a very, very scary thought for him and for Egypt. He though still has a chance to win his first medal at the... he already has a medal at the Cup of Nations. I mean, silver in 2022, but he'll have a chance to win another one. He'll be playing for bronze in a few days' time. But it's Senegal who progressed to the final in Rabat, and who will they meet on final day? And one thing you would notice from Senegal was the full-time reaction. I mean, Sadio Mane would, at the moment the full-time whistle went off, while his other team was celebrating, he would plead for calm. He would tell the Senegalese fans and the players to calm down. He knows the job's not finished, and that is a real mature leader. That's someone who knows he's still got work to do. And to win a semi-final, which is one of the toughest games to win for any player in any competition, for him to have the mentality to sort of calm the players down, knowing that the bigger, tougher challenges ahead, is a huge sort of show of maturity. He would then also go to the press conference and would drop an absolute bombshell, stating that the Cup of Nations final will definitely be his final match at the tournament for Senegal, and may even allude to be his last match in a Senegal kit, and that he could be retiring, regardless of the result, retiring at the Cup of Nations final. Which means the final now turns into a finish the story type arc. And for one of the most iconic players, for one of the players who's been the face of this new Senegal, a Senegal that has come back from the really dark times of post 2010, post the golden generation of 2002 that really struggled and didn't make a name for themselves, to be the face of a new Senegal team that finally fulfilled its potential in bringing home the big one, the Cup of Nations, finally breaking into Europe and achieving all the great things he's achieved for both club and country. For him to bow out with a second Cup of Nations winners medal would be absolutely incredible, and what that would do for his legacy would be untold. Absolutely untold. I mean, 2 Cup of Nations winners medals, we might have to put him in GOAT conversations here in Africa. I mean, the legacy he could have would be absolutely crazy. And who knows, that final, knowing that it could be his final game in international football, that will definitely could motivate him and his players to play the absolute heart out. Motivate him to play his absolute heart out for the team to bring home that second star. It will be absolutely, it'll be phenomenal. It'll be absolutely insane. To end your career this way. Very few people get the perfect ending or end on their terms, but I mean, if he can bring home that second Cup of Nations trophy to Dakar, it could be the perfect ending to one of the great national team careers in modern African national team football. Wow. Fine margins. Fine margins. Like I said previously, this was attack meets defense. This was unstoppable force meets immovable object. Morocco, who haven't conceded a goal in open play all tournament, versus Nigeria, who scored 14 all tournament. And it was a game that really lived up to the billing. Both teams really cancelled each other out, and it wasn't a kind of game where it was boring, where you really got bored. It was more just so intense. First of all, I will first of all laud Morocco. They were able to really keep Nigeria quiet throughout the entire 2 hours. They really did a phenomenal job. Nigeria, they never really got going. Not for the lack of trying. Nigeria definitely did try, and you could definitely see Osimhen, Adams, and Lookman. You could definitely see that they were playing. They were definitely trying to play balls amongst each other. Iwobi was definitely trying to spray passes. Was definitely trying to get the clock going. But you could tell that at times Morocco really ganged up on them. I mean, you had Iwobi on the ball and had 5 Moroccan players on him. And then you'd have Osimhen, who would really, whoever had the ball, you could tell that Morocco really focused centrally on that guy, and it really stifled Nigeria's attack. I mean, they did create chances, but they weren't really half great chances at Yassine Bono, and they were able to really stop Nigeria creating those opportunities and those overlays that they've been doing all tournament. For Morocco, on the other hand, they actually did create more opportunities than Nigeria, but again, they weren't necessarily great opportunities. I mean, Brahim Diaz was kept very quiet on the day. So was Al Karbi. Nwabali never really looked troubled at all throughout the 2 hours, and really it's a testament to both defenses. They've done a phenomenal job. They've done a very, very incredible job at keeping both sides quiet, keeping both dangerous attackers quiet, and it's been a very, very good job from the defensive side. I mean, Calvin Bassey is probably my man of the match. I mean, can't tell you how many times El Kabi or Diaz had the ball in a dangerous area and he would show up, whether it was to knock the ball away or make that crucial tackle to prevent them having a shot or however. He had done an incredible job at keeping them quiet. So it was a game where, I mean, I'm not gonna say not a lot happened, but not because it was boring or that Morocco tried to dull the game. No, it was just two teams that really just went at each other and just couldn't land the knockout blow. This was like watching a really good heavyweight clash where both fighters go the distance, both of them looking for the knockout punch, but they just cannot land it because the defense is so good. I mean, like I said, I like movies. I like movies. I would say if I could describe this match in a boxing encounter, I would say... think Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, just no knockdowns, but the two of them putting on an absolute boxing masterclass. And that's what this game was. Both teams having a go at each other, attacking one another. I mean, all the substitutions that they made were just an attack. There were no defensive subs throughout the game, which even during extra time the message was clear. We're going to try and win this in open play. That was the message. We're not going to wait for penalties. And the only time both teams really resigned to penalties was right about the 119th minute, which was as late as you can get. I mean, the referee though also doesn't cover himself in glory in certain instances. There were certain calls he got wrong, very minuscule calls. I mean, no massive calls, but there were certain calls that he did get wrong, but thankfully had no real effect on the game. So after 2 hours of enthralling football between these two sides, none of them were able to land that critical knockout blow, and it would go down to 10 kicks of the football and penalties. Both sides would put away their opening kick, but it would be Morocco who would blink first, as they would miss, as Nwabali would pour a penalty on the side. Sadly though, Nigeria couldn't capitalize, as they would miss as well. Both of them would score their third kicks in round 3 to make it 1-1. Hakimi steps up, captain, my captain. I mean, a scorer of so many big penalties in the past, big iconic penalties for Morocco. He put one away, and sadly it would be Nigeria who'd blink again. Onyechu with, I mean, it's such an awkward penalty when you watch it. It's a weird penalty, but it's kind of doing the right thing, because Bono initially goes the wrong way, but it's a penalty that doesn't have a lot of power on it. It's a penalty that doesn't have a lot on it, and Bono does just enough to reposition himself and literally stop it with just his hand, with one hand. I mean, if this goes anywhere else, it's in, but it just hits that one hand, and Bono keeps it out, which gave Morocco match point heading into round 5. And Youssef Ednesseri, who was a sub in extra time, would slot it past the goalkeeper to win the shootout for Morocco and to send Morocco to their first Cup of Nations final since 2004, which is now 23 years, and only their second Cup of Nations title, Cup of Nations final, I beg your pardon. Massive celebration, huge celebration, not just in Rabat and in the stadium, but I'm sure all across the country. I mean, this team, I've definitely written off this side throughout the competition, and again, that's my fault, but this Morocco team definitely were able to dig in and dig deep. I mean, for all of their inadequacies, for all of their shortcomings, the one thing they do have, which you kind of do need, is that heart, that determination, able to dig deep. I mean, this is as deep as this Morocco team have dug deep, and were able to pull out big moments again, and to go through to the final. It's a fantastic achievement for them, fantastic achievement for Wale Regragui, and really does give him that validation. I mean, Morocco came to this tournament, we said that they weren't battle tested, they haven't faced the big guys yet, they have bad knockout memories, but I feel like this Morocco side is rewriting history and rewriting logic as we see it, and it's absolutely incredible. For Nigeria, unfortunately, I mean, it's just football. It is what it is. You really cannot describe what they saw. I mean, 14 goals heading into the competition, but they were kept quiet by a very sturdy defense. And penalties is penalties. You know, you can't really judge. Penalties is penalties. And unfortunately for them, the dream of another African title sadly goes by the wayside. You know. It's such an unfortunate situation for them, and more penalty heartache at the Prince Moulay Stadium again. Where do they go from here, especially now that essentially the World Cup cycle is over? They've missed out on the World Cup, we don't know, but I say they keep Eric Sekou Chal. They've still had a very solid tournament showing. They've looked very good. They finally played to their full potential that we knew we would. We've been begging it for years, and finally this Nigeria team played to something close to their full potential. So there's definitely going to be a positive and a way forward from here. Sadly though, they will be having to play for third place along with Egypt. And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The 2025 Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations final is confirmed. And it's the dream final. It's the final the entire continent wanted. Well, yes, it's come 2 years too late, but it's here. We have Morocco, the hosts, the number 1 team in the tournament, bidding to win a first title in 49 years, up against Senegal, the winners of 2022, the second best team on the continent, number 2, one of the best ball playing attacking sides, not just in this tournament but on the continent. And they will be hoping to give Sadio Mane the grand farewell as he makes what definitely will be his last Cup of Nations appearance for the Teranga Lions, and what might inexcusably could be his last appearance for Senegal. The match will take place Sunday night at the Prince Moulay Stadium. A tournament that started with 50 plus nations in qualifying now ends with just 2, the trophy and the title of being Africa's best for the next year. And that's it. That's the end of the video. How are you feeling? Have you come down from the emotional high of winning the semi-final? Are you still absolutely in the dumps from losing? I mean, it absolutely hurts. I can't imagine how you're feeling at the moment. But if you can somehow put words together, I mean, sound off in the comments. Thanks again for your support, and definitely look out for my preview of the match itself, coming in a few days time. But until then, it's been your boy the Football Otaku, and never forget, real football always wins. Check you on the flip side. Deuces. Bye bye.